Welcome to the Mayor's Perspective Podcast, where Illinois community leaders speak candidly about the state and nationwide decisions that directly impact your community, your wallet, and your future. No spin, no talking points, just real conversations about the policies shaping our communities and what it means for you. Because when decisions are made at the top, they're felt at home.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Mayor's Perspective Podcast. My name is Mike Reid. I am the Village President of Hampshire, and today we have with us again Guy Zambetti, the Village President of Gilberts, Amber Kubiak, the President of Pingree Grove, and today we have joining us from the Village of Algonquin, Miss Debby Sosine. Thank you for joining us, guys. Miss Debby,
Thanks.
why don't you tell us a little bit about what you have going on? Tell us about yourself. How long have you been involved?
My name's Debby Sosine. I have been a village president of Algonquin. Prior to that, I was 14 years as a village trustee. I've been involved in the village before that for years with different things. I have been heavily involved with School District 300, and I am currently on the District 300 Foundation for Excellence, which is a program that raises money and puts it back into individual classroom through grant opportunities for the teachers. As the president of Algonquin, I'm also a member of the McHenry County Council of Governments. I've been on that for 12 years. I am on the executive committee now. I am their legislative chair. I'm president of Metro West Council of Governments. I got involved, which is mostly Kane County portion of my village, and I got involved in that after I became mayor because we have growth going on in Kane County and I wanted to connect. Also being a new mayor, I wanted to connect with the mayors that are also around. The Council of Governments have networking events for all the mayors to get together and talk and see what our problems are, what our successes are, what we do, and what we could do better. It's a super great networking community. Being involved in the two Council of Governments, I also got involved in the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. The Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus is 67 municipals and mayors that work together to try to handle things in Cook, Kane, Kendall, DuPage, and Lake counties, because a lot of the legislation happening in Springfield, especially now, really affects these Cook County and the Collar counties and the city of Chicago.
All right. And that's kind of how we all got involved with each other, right? We met you through some networking nights. Let's throw it over to Amber. What's going on today? What are we talking about?
Today, we are talking about the transit bill and also the Build Illinois bills that the governor proposed with his budget proposal.
All right. So who wants to start this off?
Boy, I mean, I can give you a million reasons why I'm irritated with how the transit bill was passed and what it does for our area, but I'm not sure if that's how we want to start it off on a negative note.
Well, could somebody
You want me to give you some facts about what it is?
Well, can we
You're
well,
good
why
at
don't we talk
facts.
why don't we talk about a little bit of the history, right? How we got here and what it's about. So who wants to lead that discussion?
The transit bill has been going on for 2 years, and it started in CMAP, which is the Chicago Metropolitan Area Planning Committee. And that was set up. It's set up and it works with the city of Chicago. They asked to find out because they call it the fiscal cliff. After COVID, a lot of people work at home. And with everybody working at home, they're not taking the trains downtown. They're not taking the CTA around. They're not taking the CTA trains. They're not taking the PACE buses because everybody's staying home. So the lack of income that each one of these transit organizations happened to, at the time they were saying it's $770 million when that ARPA money, which is the federal government money that was given out, was taken away. And CMAP did the whole study and they came out with their suggestions. There's mayors on there. There was representatives from Springfield that were on this committee. And what they did was try to create a bill that would help transit where we could increase money into transit. We can look at ways to make transit better, because the transit with the CTA, PACE, and Metro is extremely important for the Chicagoland area. Unfortunately, what they came up with wasn't exactly what was discussed on what we were looking at. The biggest thing for 2 years was the governance of it, and that was to make sure that 5 collar counties got not a seat at the table, but representation that is meaningful, meaning the way it's voted, which was the old RTA vote, they needed supermajority. So they needed the collar counties to be able to get something done, whether it's spending or where they're going on the subject matter. What happened with the transit bill is the entire governance of it changed. So the PACE, Metro, and CTA, they are still 3 separate entities. They have to be. Metro is big trains that come into the suburbs and into the city. CTA trains are only in the city. The CTA buses are only in the city. PACE is a lot of suburban buses. They run so differently, you can't put them together and have one thing govern all 3. The NEDA board, which they call it now, is the board that oversees all 3 of them. And they handle mostly the funding and how the funding goes. Prior to this transit bill that was passed, the funding was set up, whereas the city of Chicago got 60%, the Metro got 30%, and PACE got 15 or 10%. That made up how they distributed the funds that the RTA board got. So they kind of changed that in the NEDA bill. The new NEDA board can now have carte blanche over where the money goes, because the way it's set up, and Senator DeWitt did a great job in his letter that was published in Crane Chicago Business. Now the board will consist of 20 members, 5 appointed by the governor, 5 appointed by the mayor of the city of Chicago, 5 appointed by the Cook County board president, and 1 appointment from each of the 5 collar counties. That's our 12. Under the new law, 15 of the 20 board members can approve any and all actions of the board. That means the governor, the mayor of Chicago, and the Cook County board president can control everything that's going on.
For
PACE
everyone
and Metro-
outside of, for everybody outside of just Chicago, correct?
Yes.
Just so for like the too long didn't read of this is they took everybody's boards, and whether they exist or not, and now they're governed by another body that was created by the state legislature that's made up of representatives appointed in the fashion in which we just spoke, right?
Well, they still had the 3 boards, and the RTA governed over them, but they didn't have, by legislation, which is now old legislation, they had to distribute the money a specific way. And then the RTA had a fund that they had discretionary money they could use. So if PACE needed something huge with capitals, they could give more money to PACE. If Metro needed like a train or something, and they needed a large sum of money, they could change the distribution. Mostly the city of Chicago with the capital improvements still got the largest share. And if you look at population, the city of Chicago has the most ridership on stuff that's being used.
Now that's my frustration with it though, because so now they take the money, the funding comes from all these locations. The funding gets dumped in there from the collar counties, Cook County, and the way you just described it, which is accurate. I agree with you, Debbie. The collar counties, the funding equally goes in there, but the collar counties could never push back or vote against. They can vote against it. They just won't overthrow how the funding is spent. We'll never have the power or the authority to change it. If we feel something's being allocated inappropriately or in a way we don't care, it automatically, we just get ousted on that just because the majority stands with Cook County, the governor, and the mayor of Chicago.
I mean, not only do they have the majority, they have the supermajority. So we have basically no say, but they're collecting sales tax from our residents. They're collecting increased tolls from our residents. I know for myself in Pingree Grove, we don't have any transportation available. It's not like we have pace buses running around Pingree Grove. Yes, I have paratransit, but I don't have any kind of buses. We don't have a train in town. So we're all paying for this and we're paying for them to make whatever decisions they want, but we don't have any say and it doesn't really benefit my residents.
And then they give the argument, part of the discussion or argument will be like, well, we got that much of a vote because of the population, because we have the greater population that's the driving force behind it. But you know what? The real BS part to it is, okay, you have the greater part of the population, but it's a system that you're claiming is failing. So
Yeah.
if it's failing with the greater part of the population, why'd you drag us into it?
Isn't that what you said last time, Guy? You know, too, like there's an article about how they mismanaged funds.
I think it was 210
43
million,
million.
the judge ruled on Cook County.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And but yet we're gonna give them more money from our pockets to go for a system that's been failing, and you're not gonna give us any kind of increased say over what you're doing?
Can we talk a little bit about, can we go back to Mayor Sosine? You were talking about the fiscal cliff, and it was $770 million it was that they had to overcome. So in the legislation, there was some funding appropriations, right? And the mechanisms in which to fund all of this ordeal. And one of the things that Mayor Kubiak mentioned is that the increased tolls, right? That's what everybody's talking about in our community, is the fact that, there's not a lot of access to public transit at all. So they have to drive their cars, and they're paying increased tolls to pay for what some of this and what we're just talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the transit bill will take effect June 1st, 2026. So we have a few months and we're working on some of the different aspects of it. The raise in the sales tax, it's the RTA sales tax we've always had on. They are asking for another 0.25%, or they voted on another 0.25%. So now they will get an additional, they're assuming that it's going to be $478 million per year. Now, the fiscal cliff was $770 million. For some miraculous reason, when they finally went through this whole thing, it's only $250 million. So whatever RTA was telling everybody, I listened to one video of them talking to the legislators, and I forget what they call it, but they could not come up with a reason why they were so off. So
That's a lot.
the RTA looked horrible on this meeting that they were in with the legislators, and it justified why CMAP and everybody came across that we need to look at a change, because these people don't know what they're doing. Aside from the sales tax increase, they're moving a portion of the gas tax, which in the past went to the municipalities in the motor fuel tax funds that went for roads for municipalities. They're taking the interest on the road fund and moving that to NEDA. Now, I'm an accountant, and if you have $1 million and you have $100,000 in interest, now you have $1,100,000 that you can put into roads, because that's where the road fund is. They are now taking that $1,000 in my example out of the road fund, which goes to all the municipalities to fix all our roads in townships and counties, and they're giving that to NEDA so they can. The whole consensus of almost every mayor I have talked to is so we can bail out the CTA, because it is not functional, not financially fiscally responsible, and hasn't been. Their pension is $700 million almost. So the fiscal cliff not only has to create money for transit and improvements in transit, which everybody wanted. You don't have stuff out where you live, Amber, but this might be able to get us a way to get something out by your area, and the same with Guy. So that concept of the plan was, I feel, was very good. It's just when they changed all the voting, now all this extra money that's going in there can be directed wherever they want. And the CTA, which has been mismanaged and is financially irresponsible, in my opinion, we're just throwing good money after bad.
Now,
And yeah.
now as in my as former president or past president of Council of Government, I had to testify at a couple, I think a House committee hearing and a Senate committee hearing about this. And, where this whole process started and where it ended are two different conversations, actually three different conversations, really, because it started with, the concept of combining all of the boards, the concept of combining all of the services so that you as a resident of the state of Illinois or whoever, a consumer of any kind, can take one bus pass, jump on any public transportation, bus, train, whatever, and get where you're going. The concept of that is great. I don't know why anybody would think that that would be a bad idea. The problem is one, how they're intending to pay for this, because one of the agencies was grossly mismanaged, and it's proven. It's on paper. It's not an opinion at this point. It's a fact. I mean, it is. I mean, there's money that was missing. This has been in place since the 70s. They kept kicking the can down the road, making it somebody else's problem, right? So there's that, and then there's the fact that the part that the municipalities, especially in this area and throughout the state and state senators, everybody was mad about the governance of it. It was fair, and that's the part that I get upset about as we talk about, equitable things being equitable and including everybody and giving everybody a voice. And it seems again that this is another example of it. We're going to give people the voice that agree with us, but not the people that don't agree with us, right? Or the people that live here where that makes up the power, i.e. the city of Chicago or something like that, where under the guise of they have the most population. But then, our areas, I mean, even Algonquin too, the majority of people aren't hopping on a train. The majority of the people are driving on the tollways. And so they're the ones that are
Right.
going to have to pay for it.
Yes, I look at it as, obviously we see there's gross mismanagement of money. What have they done internally to look at the budget and say, hey, we can cut this? Because I don't know about you guys, but I know that we pass a balanced budget every year and we stick to it, and I'm not running way in the red. So why are they not being tasked with cutting things and cutting their fat off their budget to make up for some of this?
Yeah, but we don't know what their fat is. They have more union control of what goes on than anybody. They have a huge safety issue in the CTA, especially the last 4 years, that we don't have to deal with out here, and they have to be able to somehow police all this and get it safe. This lady wasn't set on fire on CTA train because they have police on all these trains. It was a one-off incident, but there's still a lot of crime. I was downtown at a transportation meeting that they had. And the people that live in the city of Chicago, there was probably 10 or 12 of them that talked. And they said their biggest problem is safety on these trains and buses. They are afraid to get on them. And I don't know if throwing more money at the CTA is going to make them any safer.
I would think not.
That's
I mean, this has been
yeah.
a problem, like you said, for how many years? What is Chicago doing to improve that safety? That's part of their job. Like, if we have a safety issue here, again, I expect that my police chief is putting together a plan to improve the security. It can't always be looked upon to the rest of the state to fix Chicago's problems.
Well, and then
It
it doesn't help too when you look at it and do they understand or realize they have a safety issue or not? Because it's
yeah, they
hard when
do.
you're watching the news and you're hearing the governor go out there saying it's safe out here. You're hearing Mayor Johnson saying it's safe out here.
That's
Now
what they're
on the
saying. That's
other
what they're
side of it, they're saying we need funding to make it safer. I mean, then I'm looking at things like Metro trying to expand out to Rockford, and I think there's over $275 million are going to pop into that rail system. You got municipalities like Huntley saying, we're pulling out. We don't want the station here because we know what's coming.
Well, and in that regard, and it's not a matter of Huntley just pulling out. It was about all the minutia that came along with it, and the lack of local. Again, goes back to some of the conversation. The lack of local authority having to do with the grounds in which the station was built. That's the crux of the issue. I mean, there's all kinds of other conversation you can have. Is a train station good for a community? Is it bad for a community? Is it going to bring economic development? Is it going to bring crime? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs there, but the black and white of the issue, as far as a lot of this goes, is that they want you to put something like that in your community and then give you no say how it operates.
Right. Well, House Bill 4588, which is the one that is people over parking, because part of this bill has the NEDA gives them the authority to go in there and work with the municipality to put within 2.5 blocks of your train station. So we're going to put in apartments because we need housing, and housing by Metro or by these stations are a good way to help people, and then they can come back and forth into the city and all the other stops that they have. But you can't put in a 300 apartment building and not have parking for it. Because as much as the city of Chicago, you don't have to have a car if you live there. You have to have a car if you're out in Algonquin. We don't have buses going around that'll drive people and pick people up. People move to the northwest suburbs and the far west suburbs and the southern suburbs out of Cook County because they don't want to live that life. They want their house, they want their car, they want to be able to go where they want to go, and they don't mind driving to Chicago or Schaumburg or wherever their business is, and that's what they're used to. So the tolls are going up, but that is hearsay, but it was to appease the unions and the tollway system on how are we going to make on this? Everybody's getting money. So how are we also going to get money? And that's the tollway fees. I mean, it's 30% more for a commercial truck. Are they going to go now, stay off the expressway because it's so expensive, and then hit all of our side roads run through all the communities?
That's what's happening now. I know that to be true because my dad worked for a trucking company that was based in Wisconsin, and the rule is that you got one toll booth in Illinois, and then you had to find another way to get where you were going. And so that's been in place ever since the Illinois raised the toll from 40 cents years ago. I mean, and people don't realize it, unless you pull trailers of any kind, it's by the axle. Okay. And it varies depending on the plaza, how much it goes. But I mean, I know from pulling trailers throughout the state here, I mean, I've had to change routes myself because some of these toll booths you'll go through, if you have 4 axles, 2 on your truck, 2 on your trailer, you're paying $20. To get there close to it, to get through the toll booth. It's like $16.50 or $18. But even still, I mean, that stuff's been going on for a long time, and the wear and tear. And I've even noticed that here in our community along 72.
I was going to say that same 72, 20, 47. You notice the increase.
We noticed an increase of truck traffic because, you can get off at Route 20 here without a toll because there's no tolls there yet. Now that we put it on the podcast, they're going to be putting it in by June. But then they get off and then they can get on 20, 47, 72 and get where they're going.
Yeah, it is. All the money coming from these tollways is going to the Illinois Tollway Capital Program, and that's why the Illinois Tollway got involved in this. But the worst part is it's an automatic inflationary increase. Now, why does the tollway need an automatic inflationary increase on the tolls? But that's what they put in there. They expect $743 million in that program alone for the tollway system. They don't say that's all they're getting.
I don't want to derail this. We have 5 minutes more on this topic. You are listening to the Mayor's Perspective podcast, the international Mayor's Perspective podcast now. We had listeners this last time in Germany, China, and Singapore, as well as the United States. So I'd like to think that we hold the record for the #1 Illinois municipal podcast in all of those foreign countries, right?
We might have more followers there than here.
But if you like what you hear, or if you'd like to participate, or you have topics you'd like us to cover, please follow us on all our social media platforms at the Mayor's Perspective, which is Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as you can contact us directly by sending us an email at the mayor's perspective podcast at gmail.com. And now for 4 more minutes on transportation before we move on to something fun.
Well, the bill's not all that bad. What they put in here is they are going to streamline the user ability to buy rides on one system. So you can buy a card and you could ride the bus, the train, the suburban train, city bus, and pace bus with your $20 on one card as far as that'll get you, and then just keep upping on that card. When you scan it through, like the toll, it just deducts it from your card. That type of a system to be so user friendly is one of the big asks that came out of it. So,
and I agree. There's
RTA
nobody
could have done it.
right. And I agree. There's no downside to that. And for the everyday user having one transportation card to get on any form of public transportation in the state, I think that's a phenomenal thing. The sad part is as you get further away from the city of Chicago, there's less and less people that are actually going to be able to take advantage of all of that. But all of the people that live outside of it that can't take advantage of it are the ones that are going to have to pay more for that ability, which is with less of a voice.
The CTA has not raised rates since 2018. Now, every bus driver gets a raise. The health costs, insurance, everybody here knows insurance has gone up so much for health costs. The buses, the capital that they have to do for the buses and the train keep going up. So CTA says, oh, well, there's too many, people that can't afford it. You go over by Wrigleyville and you've got these yuppies up there that are, and I shouldn't generalize what it is, but those
you're
are
you're a Sox.
Oh, hell no. I've been to Wrigley Field many times. And but those people that live up there, because my niece used to live up there, they're making over 6 figures. They can afford a slight raise every time. And if you are on such a small income, you get a card, so you get a free and reduced rate.
Yeah.
So why they say they can't increase it doesn't make any sense because the people can't afford it. The people that really can't afford it ride free anyway.
Well,
and
and
my dad got free. Yeah, my dad got free pace bus from Whitfield to Wrigley Field for all the years that Blagojevich was governor, because he gave seniors free rides or half price rides. My dad rode. It was great.
They still have that. They still have the free rides on pace for seniors or reduced rates.
Well, and
I have the reduced rate card, so I can ride reduced rate on all of those.
Well, and that goes back to the mismanagement, right? And so it's not an opinion that it was mismanaged. It's factual evidence that proves that it was mismanaged. And, as you tie it back to local municipalities, we have to have those tough conversations on the regular, on a yearly basis. I mean, people don't like to hear it, but we get beat up all the time because our water rates are high, as an example, or they get raised, as an example. Well, I'm sorry. Labor goes up, insurance goes up, the price of chemicals goes up, so therefore the process in which we can provide you clean, clear drinking water gets more expensive. And so what do? I mean, yes, we make more money in property taxes every year, but there's certain aspects of your municipality that have to operate like a village, right? And people don't like to hear it, but it's the truth. And you have to, and you can't operate a business as a loss, and you can't just say, okay, we're going to close our doors. We're not going to provide these services anymore, because then what?
Well,
and so.
Yeah, and then the other part, it seems like we're always getting strangled a little bit and a little bit. Like, that saying, you put someone in water, and if you turn it up 5 degrees a little bit by a little bit, you don't notice till one day the water's boiling.
Mm-hmm.
You just pointed out, like, they tapped into these motor fuel tax funds. Okay, so a little bit got pulled out. Okay, now we've been pushing for the electric vehicles, for green energy electric vehicles. So the tax that would go towards these gas stations isn't going there from those vehicles. And it does look they're working on addressing that. I don't know if it's the answer yet, but it does look like they're getting there. But then the other side of that also, the weight, these vehicles. You're watching the Amazon vehicles and all of them with these battery powered vehicles that are known to be heavier vehicles going on these roads. So our roads are getting heavy. A little money's getting chiseled away over there. A little money's getting chiseled away there. And we're finding ourselves, a lot of times we find ourselves in the part where we're getting strangled more and getting less.
Well, I think that we've got about 30 seconds. How do we want to end transportation?
We're stuck with this bill. We work on making as many trailer bills and amendments to it that will help the little guy and all the surrounding communities, and stop taking away our local control on what goes around our train stations, what goes around our bus stations, what goes around Pace and Metro are pretty much everything out here. We don't want you to tell us what we have to do with our downtowns, which most of them have this down there. We want to make sure that we can keep the control of our communities and figure out what we have to do with less money.
And we keep repeating that more and more as we're going on through this, the overreach. We understand what's going on better in our communities than someone downstate or upstate, because we're here.
And go to your witness slips and support House Bill 4588. You don't have to go down there. You just file your witness slip that you are in favor of this bill, because this bill will help us keep our local control, and that's what we want as municipalities.
All right. Well, thank you for that riveting discussion. I love this format, because we don't really ever get a chance to dialogue like this. So I really appreciate you taking a chance and jumping on with us. Again, you are listening to the Mayor's Perspective podcast. You can follow us on social media at the Mayor's Perspective. Send us an email at themayorsperspective@gmail.com. All right. So next on our agenda today, Illinois House Bill 5626 is the House bill as presented by Cam Buckner of Chicago. This bill would change Illinois law so every municipality with zoning power must allow more kinds of housing on land that's zoned for single-family home, and it limits some local rules that can slow down building new homes. That's kind of like the Cliff's Notes version of what the State House says this bill can do. But in reality, it does much more. Who wants to lead us off?
I would like to start on this because
Okay.
I have so many concerns with this. I mean, obviously we know overreach, which we've been talking about. I think, over and over, there's so much overreach, but the amount of overreach in this bill concerns me. Some of the things that I'm concerned about are the parking reform. Again, when we talked about the transit bill, how a lot of our residents, they need cars. We don't have the setup where our residents are using public transportation only. Everyone that comes here, that moves here, needs to have a car. And according to this, for multifamily homes, they're saying you can't have more than a half a space for each multifamily home, and you can't require more than one space per single family home. Where I'm at, I feel like every home that we've built, whether it be multifamily or single family, we see at least, 3 cars in the driveway. So a half a space would be an absolute disaster. When I'm looking at the townhomes that we're building throughout our village, we have a lot of townhomes. We asked for more parking in our last annexation agreement because there is so much, and we don't allow parking overnight in our streets. It becomes such a problem. The other thing I was concerned about, I'm concerned about a lot of things. Another thing I'm concerned about is the statewide impact fee calculation. I don't understand why the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity is going to tell us how to calculate our impact fees. Everybody has different needs and different things that go into their impact fees. The state has a hard time balancing their budget. I don't need them to tell me what to do to balance mine. Of course, we're concerned about the building permit reviews and inspections. You're talking about really speeding things up, and if you're not fast enough, then they can bring in a third party to do plan review or inspections. If this is going to create such a boom in housing, by doing that, you're putting a lot of strain on small building departments. I know we don't have a large building department. I don't know how this is possible. And then, I did see a lot of safety issues that I think would be concerning for fire departments, limiting staircases. There's just so much. And please don't even get me started on the ADUs. I mean, there's no additional requirements on those, so people can just build whatever they want.
ADU for somebody that doesn't understand acronyms means what?
It means like a mother-in-law house.
Accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah, accessory.
Yeah, they called it a granny a granny house or
But it
whatever.
Yeah. So
It doesn't mean granny needs to go in there. No one's checking an ID to make sure it's a granny in there. It could be anybody going in there.
Well,
You
be
could
clear.
rent it to anybody.
yeah.
Yeah, and
So this law,
I'd be okay
this
with
bill,
granny.
this bill as it's presented, this bill presented on as its face or how it has been sold to the media is to cut legislation or cut rules and red tape to make it easier to build multifamily units in the state of Illinois. And in these accessory dwelling units, it's like a blanket approach. They're trying to take a sledgehammer to every zoning code that we have, to where, like, if you have a shed in your backyard now currently, you have to be so many feet off the lot line. You can't build it in a drainage easement. You can't build it over electrical easement. And this, as it's written, takes all of that away and says that if you want to turn that shed into a 2-story in-law suite or like a she shed with a bedroom in it, right? You are allowed to do that,
I
right?
have a question though. Did you guys pick up on this? Let's say that happened. Let's say someone put a dwelling unit in in the back of their property. So they're taxed by PIN. So let's say another family moves into that dwelling unit, 2 kids, a mom and a dad, or whatever it may be, a family. So now on one property, you could have 2 families going in there. That school district now receives 2 families worth of kids. Where's the funding to cover that? Then on top of it, the state slaps us and says, no, you're going to follow our formula for how you're going to negotiate or with developers about impact fees.
Well, but I'm stuck on the fact that, okay, you're not getting a separate PIN. So you're not getting more impact fees,
That's what
right?
I'm
You're not
saying.
getting any. And so, I mean, their state funding, their law about it won't make any impact for somebody that lives in, let's say I wanted to do it at my place. Let's say I wanted to take my backyard where I can't build a shed because my zoning laws won't allow me to do it, right? Because of the easements that are there. But then this passes and I'm going to put up a 2-story apartment right next to me, right? Now it's like, and I live on a 3rd-acre lot, right? That impact fee conversation doesn't have anything to do with it, but the school district isn't going to get any more taxes
That's my
because
point.
I'm only going to get taxed on my home, not.
So that PIN number, they won't collect additional taxes for that family living in the backyard. Then on the other
Yeah, they
side
will.
of town, we get 1,000-unit subdivision coming in, and we can't negotiate with that subdivision, that developer that's putting an impact on our community, saying, this is your way you're buying into this community. You're putting an impact on us, the schools. We're negotiating it. But the state's now going to cap our rights or with a basic formula of what we can negotiate there. And then on the other side of town, in an existing PIN, they're going to cut off to where one lot could actually have 2-3 families on it.
So,
That school's gonna get
Debbie,
slapped
you
hard.
said that there was a way for them to be taxed, if you will.
Yes, there is. When you get a permit to build a structure, a deck, a pool, anything, that permit goes over to your county. Your county assessors takes that and then increases the value of what you have on your land. So if you have 2 dwelling units on your property, your personal real estate taxes are going to go up accordingly because the value of your property is now escalated because you have 2 houses on it.
No, I
Whether
understand
you
that.
even if you put a deck on, the value
No,
of
I
your
understand. No, I understand that portion of it, but how do you again go? How does that work? I mean, can you sell that property that accessory dwelling unit? Can that become a primary dwelling unit for somebody? How? My point
You-
is I understand
yeah.
I understand the process of we're going to put up a shed, the value of your property goes up. You're going to put I understand that, and theoretically it would be the same way. But how do you make that separation? Or
You petition the county to create a separate PIN on 2 pins for your property.
okay, but
Okay.
what if that's not within the law? I mean, what if they take that right away from you? You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Like, I mean, I feel like this is opening Pandora's box
Oh yeah,
of
it is.
all of what I'm getting at is I understand, like, in the world that we live in now, we could petition to subdivide the lots and you put up a house or you put up a dwelling unit and you keep it with, let's say you live on a 1/2-acre lot and you want to turn it into 2 1/4-acre lots, right? And you want to put up 2 separate there's a process for that. right? In every zoning district now. Okay. You can get variances and all that kind of stuff, and you can do that. It may not be allowed, but there is a process for anybody to do that. But
Well,
what's
this bill doesn't say they're changing that process.
it's restricting our ability to have any control over it. Is the way that I'm reading it.
It's restricting our ability to deny it.
Okay.
So would we be able to tell them if someone came in to put a dwelling unit in their backyard, the way I'm reading it, and I could be misinterpreting it, us as a municipality, when they came in for a permit, would we be able to say, no, you can't do that in your backyard. You have to actually subdivide your yard. Would we be able to say that?
If you create a village ordinance, I believe, but I don't know because I'm not clear on some of the
Right.
stuff on this law, but you might be able to create an ordinance where if someone wants to put a accessory dwelling unit on their property, you might be able to require them to split it into another pin. Don't forget, this bill came out of the city of Chicago because they want to be able to get the require the people that have a 2-flat and want to make a 3rd flat in the basement and do it illegally. They want a mechanism so they can do that 3rd flat and then they could tax them on it. My grandma lived in Skokie. She had an alley in the back way.
It's normal.
She could have easily put in a garage in the back and created an apartment out of it and then rented that out on her property. And it's just rental income by the way this law is. A big issue is out here by us, we don't have alleys.
Well,
We have
and the
water
other
and
thing-
sewer running in the fronts and backs of our yards. You get into Barrington Hills, they're on well and septic. I still have people on well and septic in Algonquin because there's requirements on sizes. So now you're getting into the issues with Illinois Environmental Protection Agency and their requirements, and you're throwing them out. My biggest thing is looking at my public works. I could be forced to create a larger wastewater treatment plant because we're close to max now for $600 million. Where am I going to get $600 million?
Right.
Those are the issues that
Not
are
off your
not
impact
being looked
fees.
at. Because
Here's
we
the
might
thing.
not have any of those.
Confused because I thought that this bill was brought about because they wanted to make housing, create more affordable housing, right?
That's what was reported in the governor's budget address. That was the reasoning behind it.
So to me, pulling out parking requirements, pulling out zoning requirements, yes, they're going to lower the cost somewhat of housing, but is the cost of materials going to change? No. Is the cost of labor going to change? So are you really going to see that much more affordable housing? Wouldn't it be better for the state to instead create some kind of incentive program or improve their incentive program for first-time buyers or lower income buyers instead of, again, overreaching into the municipal world and taking away our control and taking the way our zoning is set up? Instead, why don't they create something that would actually benefit these buyers and open up more homes for people to be able to afford them?
Well,
To my
and Debbie's got a
understanding
fair
that-
point. It was introduced by someone from Chicago, which they do have different dynamics, but I don't know how comfortable I feel. We know how the school system is in the city of Chicago. We know how the crime rate and everything else is. So they say, trust me, this is going to be great. You're going to love it. I'm kind of sitting there like, I don't know about this.
No.
So they introduced this to us, and now you've all brought out good parts, Amber. Like you're like, okay, introduce something in here to help fund this. Now, I'm not trying to go down a political rabbit hole, but I'm going to call it out. You brought a bunch of people into this state. You've welcomed them with open arms that had no housing arrangements. Now they're here, and now you're like, we got to address this. We got to make something affordable for them. Well, you guys, whoever
Well, but
announced
that
it,
isn't that argument, though. To be fair, to take it away from the political side, isn't mutually exclusive to that situation. We have.
I agree to that, but it
So
didn't
we
help
have-
the
but we have-
situation. How did you fund that?
I agree with that, but we
How
have
did
a
you
three.
provide
we have
for
a,
those people? And now you made it our problem to provide
okay,
to make
we-
housing for everybody,
but we do have a 3 million home housing shortage. That's a fact.
and that helped it.
We have interest rates that are out through the roof, and we have people that would ordinarily be downsizing at certain portions of the times in their lives that are now unable to do so. So because they're not going to go out and get high interest rate loans, so they're staying in their bigger houses that would normally be shifted to first time home buyers and stuff. So I understand where you're coming from, and I don't necessarily disagree with your sentiment, but that's not a mutual. That problem is not mutually exclusive. This problem is a problem that exists
It
because of times that we
intensified
live.
it.
I'm not. I'm saying that that problem. This wasn't solely created by one instance. It didn't help. I
No,
agree
I
with
agree
you.
with that.
But
This-
go ahead.
This bill is put in here, according to the governor, and I sat there and listened to him. People who make between $75,000 and $125,000 a year are having a hard time finding a house that they can afford to buy. And if you're talking 38% of their income, say that the mortgage and the principal and the interest and the insurance to insure these houses is $4,000 a month, you got to make a whole lot of money
Yeah.
to net out $4,000 a month.
And not to
We
Well,
mention
and don't
the
forget about our
college loan.
property taxes. I mean, our property taxes
Right.
are like the highest in the country, you know.
Yeah,
My
and that
property
was in
taxes
there.
make up more than half of my mortgage payment every month.
But
It's
if you look at your police department, they have a hard time
Yeah.
looking for houses that they can
Yeah.
afford. When kids
Yeah.
get out of college, they go back to live with mom and dad.
Because they have a
That
college
is
loan on them
that is
too.
the solution. What we're trying to this is, I guess, the start of a conversation. Let's throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
yeah. I mean, to me
But
though,
that's why this is going on.
pulling out parking spaces and making things less safe and not following zoning code, that's not enough. This is not the way to go about it.
Well,
I agree.
I would argue that them being that it's not enough. It's not acceptable. I mean, and to do it under the basis of affordability, affordability and attainability are two different conversations. There are no homes for people to buy. Why? Because the ones that are out there are not affordable. Therefore, it makes them unattainable. So why don't we do something? Why don't we do something to help that side of it? Go back to
I agree.
the affordability conversation, the affordability credits. There's a program in the state for low income housing, right? It's just you have to jump through all these hoops to get it. As a matter of fact, as I understand it, there's always money left over because people cannot figure out how to apply for the program and actually use it. And then you have that, and then you have the federal housing credit as well. But when you have a rental unit that's a 3-bedroom townhome in XYZ community, and the rent is $2,800 a month for rent. I don't know how that's attainable either. People, it's like, oh, I'll just go rent a house. I'll go rent. I mean, I saw an apartment advertised. It was a 2-bedroom apartment not too long ago. It was over $2,000 a month,
Right.
for a 2-bedroom second floor apartment. I just,
And that's the problem is they can't attain, they can't afford what is out there, what we have. You cannot build new to create this. A huge issue that's not even been covered in any of this conversation is the companies that come in mass, purchase the existing housing and charge large rents and then eventually sell it off. And it destroyed the housing market, and it created a monster in what companies own. It's like vacant landlords.
yep.
And they come in, they rent it, the people are there, they don't watch and monitor some of this stuff. And then eventually they get out of it and they sell it, and they have a profit. They're dead and gone, and they've made a lot of money. And in the process, we still don't have, a decent apartment or home or a place for someone that they can rent.
And that's where I think, like I said, that's where I struggle with this whole conversation, because I understand the intent. Okay. I
Yes.
understand the intent. I understand the end goal, which is to try to address a problem that we're all facing. I don't think any of us are insensitive to the fact that, there needs to be people to live, right? There needs to be places for people to live, rather.
Yeah.
But this is just, I don't know. You pick up a hammer and then everything looks like a nail. That's what this really is. I just don't
And
understand how it makes sense.
let's pay these housing developers, Pulte and Lennar and Ryan Homes. Let's pay them all this money so they can build houses and not follow existing codes and hire out third-party code people because we don't do it fast enough for them. The process to go through, I mean, some of them get done in less than 6 months. Some of them take 2 years. And that's the negotiations between the villages and the developers. And sometimes you're far apart on what needs to be done. I'm always told Algonquin fees are high. Well, you know what? Your fees are high. My residents complain about water and sewer
That's how
and what they have to pay every month. But our water and sewer plan, the way we have it set up, is we save the money when we have it, and then we put the millions of dollars into the facilities as we need them. I mean, we're still on a $13 million EPA low interest loan for the addition we put onto our wastewater treatment plant. The city of Chicago gets their water from Lake Michigan. They call it surface water. Surface water is a huge difference than what we have here, which is aquifers. It costs us a whole lot more to pull our water out and treat our water. The EPA is constantly changing what's going on, and we charge our developers fees so we can get some of that money back so we don't have to raise real estate taxes for our citizens. And every mayor here doesn't want to raise the real estate taxes for their citizens. And this bill is taking our ability to do that and throw it out the window because it's not affordable for Pulte to build a house at this price because, they have to have their profits. Okay, now you're taking the profits for these house building companies and allowing it to stay there and then taking all that money away from the municipalities. So now they have to tax the residents.
Yeah.
It's a vicious circle of stupid. In all my years in being involved in legislation, this is the worst thing I have ever seen. And when asked my opinion on it, I just said, well, just put in one sentence here. Put it for municipalities of over 2 million people, population on it. And then the city of Chicago can get whatever they want from this and do whatever they want from this and leave the rest of us alone because it is going to destroy the looks of all these municipalities in all these color counties and the rest of the state of Illinois, simply because we control what we control. We look what we have. My citizens have a 95% satisfaction rate with my village. And for 12 years, we send out a yearly survey. This is going to destroy that because now I'm going to have to raise taxes because my fees have to get changed. I'm going to have houses all over the place that we didn't want. Now we've got traffic issues with our parking. How are we going to get water and sewer to these ADUs? Because you can't leave them sit out there without toilets and running water. All these other issues that is not thought of in these bills, and the physical ability and to do this stuff has not been thought out in this bill. Again, it's one of the worst bills I've ever seen.
Well, and I love how they turn it into it's affordability. We need to make things affordable for people. Well, it's funny how that always works. Let's adjust and fix everything else but our pot of money. Let's put it this way. We're going to make the homes cheaper. We're going to slap them together. We're going to create a bunch of slop just so they can live in cheaper stuff. But that's still that retired person that has their home paid off, hopefully at that time. They still have, right now, I'm looking at $1,000 a month in taxes. That retired person that has their stuff paid off still has this state, and at that time, who knows what their tax will be up to. Every month that cost is at them, along with all the other insurance and all that. So we're going to address the house part, but the real part that never goes away, that just keeps flying off the shelf.
Yeah, I agree.
You can afford it for the first year, and then after that, you're totally screwed because your real estate taxes have gone up so much, and your homeowner's insurance is skyrocketing.
There's retirees still paying for schools. I mean, and then you see things like, hey, we're not to get off subject, but I am going to get off subject a little bit. Hey, we're going to reduce your LGDF funds as a community that you get, but with the part we tax people didn't change. Okay. They're still taxing the same rate. We're just not getting it.
It's funny because of all the topics I did get a couple of suggested topics, and they would. So there's been a couple of listeners that have really asked us to dive deeper into what LGDF is, what it's comprised of, what we as municipalities do with it, and how we fund our operations. Some people don't understand the differences in the townships and the libraries and how all that funding is all made up. And as we talk about different fees, so I mean, maybe in the coming episode we could really focus in on the municipal funding. Maybe as a municipal funding for dummies episode, if you will. Not calling our listeners dummies or anything like that, but just
we're the dummies.
So just a matter of us trying to figure out ways to explain it. We are at 58 minutes. Okay. You are listening to the Mayor's Perspective podcast. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email if you like what you hear. If you don't like what we hear, we like criticism too. The Mayor's Perspective at gmail.com. So where do we want to leave transit or the home bill rather today? Where do we want to leave that?
Oh, how about in the trash?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to leave it in Cook County, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
That shredder, file 13 that we shred. I think that's what the state should do with that bill.
Fantastic. So we're going to go over today, and that's fine. Why don't we start happy hour? What do you guys think?
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. What do we got? What do we got today? What are we partaking or are we not? Because we have
you
an
guys
esteemed
shamed
guest.
Me. Last time I didn't bring anything, and then I felt silly, but I don't know why I felt silly. Bad influence.
I have my water.
Okay, fair enough.
With water tonight.
Just water. All right.
I got wild because I've cut back on drinking, not just because my stomach can't take it anymore. Age is happening.
Well, not only that, but you got to, St. Patrick's Day is coming.
Well, I already kind of pre-partied a week earlier in Dundee, but so I'm doing these THC things now because they're good for nighttime stuff. You get a really good sleep. You can't see it. So, and they're legal. They're legal. No call the police. No one call the police. Legal, not illegal.
So this is the time of the show where we typically talk about some exciting stuff going on in the community, and so I will let our guests go first. What's going on? What's going on in Algonquin? What do you have exciting going on?
Well, we've got elections coming up next week. Nothing local.
We said exciting. We said
God.
exciting.
But with that going on, we are planning our Algonquin Fest for the end of July. Our Founders Day, which was around for 60 years, has unfortunately gone bankrupt and has dissolved. They were for so many years, we had so many great people working and volunteering and doing so much for us. The community really enjoys the fest. So I worked with the village board and staff, and we hired a company that's going to come out and create a fest for us with fireworks, a carnival, alcohol, and music. And this fest is going on, so we're working on that a lot. And then we're starting all of our advertising and stuff for our summer concerts. But coming up in, I think it's next week or the week after, is our Easter egg hunt, which is over at Algonquin Lake School. We have the bunny come and we put out 30,000 eggs. And I don't know, they put out a lot.
I was good with 8. Now, of course, Algonquin's got to come in with 30,000.
58 seconds, they're all gone.
Oh, God.
They're all picked up. It's a great event, and everybody really enjoys it for years. So that's coming up very quickly for Algonquin.
So I'm going to step in here and say that I spent a lot of time in Algonquin on Saturday and spent some hard-earned tax dollars there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But I went and I checked out America's Antique Mall at the recommendation of this fine crew. My son and I really enjoyed it. My wife thought it was everybody else's garage sale on the inside. She's like my son and I, we were walking through like, oh, check this out. Did you see this? Did you see this? And my wife's like, get me the hell out of here. So I thought I would have some fun and show you that. So you guys gave me homework and didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah, I did. I'm glad you went, Mike. I think it's pretty fun there.
I thought it was great. So my son actually asked me when Mom was going out of town so we could go back.
I love that.
Oh,
So what's going on in Pingree?
Well, I do have some exciting news. I believe that Nico's is going to do their grand reopening this week. Fingers crossed. We're hoping they'll be open for St. Patrick's Day this coming week. Other than that, we broke ground on our park, our gathering space park. So we'll be able to do concerts in the park this summer, movies in the park. They broke ground, I think, about a week and a half ago. So we're hoping to see that open in June.
Mayor's in the area karaoke night?
Oh my gosh, I love that idea. We should absolutely do that.
Oh yeah, I love I'm a fantastic
I've heard you.
karaoke singer.
You love it, but you're not good at it. I heard you.
See, I'm like Rodney Dangerfield over here on our own podcast.
Yeah.
What about you, Guy?
Well, we got an Easter egg hunt. We don't have 30,000 eggs. We have 8,000. We have that. We have a few concerts in the park that we're gearing up for, and our communities starts off the first weekend in June. We try, it's one of those things that it was a gamble that we always try to go real early because it's hard because with these fests, you try to like not go where your neighbors are going. And it seemed like a lot of them like to go towards the middle and near the end of the year. And when we first formed it, we're a smaller community. It wasn't a big fest. So we had to like kind of go for the one that was away from the Scarecrow Fest in St. Charles or the Dundee's stuff or Algonquin stuff. Like we built small. Now we got to a point where it turned out to be a pretty big festival, but that's the first weekend in June. And the cool part, I didn't even look at it this way. I do get a lot of parents that are like, we love it because it's like the first fest when our kids get out of school. And I never really thought of it like that. The other side I hear is it's a little too early. It's a little too cold or you get a better chance of rain. So it's a trade-off.
Can't make everybody happy, Guy.
No.
Haven't you learned that by now?
No, I try to make me happy first, but what do you got, Mikey?
So, color me lucky, okay, this weekend. I'm thinking about partaking. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm probably leaning more toward no, but my wife and some other people are trying to shame me into doing it. And public shaming really does work when it comes to these things. So maybe we'll be doing that. But other than that, coming up, nothing. I forgot to mention the last time that I did the polar plunge or was planning to do the polar plunge. And so we were number 7 as far as money raisers in all of the departments that participated. And so we raised just over $4,000 or so for Special Olympics. The water wasn't bad until you got out. But it was an experience. But it wasn't really that bad until I got out and I looked at the chunks of ice that they cut out that were like 6 inches thick. So
no way.
But it was pretty cold. So now we don't win much when it comes to the police department battles, as Guy knows, because Guy always whoops our tail with the cop on top, and Amber did last year as well. And so I just appreciated that we went out and we did it for a good cause and everybody was happy. So
Well, thank you for doing that. That's a great fundraiser.
yeah,
absolutely.
Well, thanks. Well, and I appreciate you coming to join us. You survived the first time so far. So
hopefully, come back. Come back.
Hopefully we didn't scare you away. Hopefully you'll want to come back on the podcast.
She might take your seat.
Yeah, you guys probably like her better than me anyway.
I don't know how to work all those buttons, Guy. He did. Then you could try it.
Yeah, see? Perfect. All right, I'll take a week off.
This is great. I thank you very much for inviting me here. It's great discussion. You guys are wonderful people that I get to see and meet. And it's one of the other benefits of being a mayor and being involved in the Council of Governments, because you meet so many other great people that think and believe how you do and want to do the best for your villages like you do. And thank you guys for all you do for yours. And thanks for inviting me.
Well, it's no problem. I always tell every mayor that I meet, it's a lonely job. People don't realize it because you can only complain about it to your family so much before they remind you that you're the one that got yourself into this.
Do you guys find it interesting though? I do get people once in a while, they'll be like, do you guys all talk to each other or go out with each other? I gotta tell you, like when I first got involved, I didn't see that as much. And I will say, not that they all do, but I will say I do notice. I've been very fortunate. Like our neighbors are all pretty great. Like we all communicate. We, you know, work with each other, figure stuff out. I mean, I've had very good experience here.
But in answer to your question, there's no Mayor's Gone Wild trips planned.
No,
And when we go down to Springfield, it's not Mayor's Gone Wild.
no.
No, because as you can hear, nobody really listens to us anyway.
They get wild on the way back.
Right. Yeah. All right. On that note, I will thank you all for listening to the Mayor's Perspective podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please like and subscribe. Send us an email at themayorsperspective@gmail.com and follow us on all social media platforms. We're going to do another episode, I hope, in another couple of weeks. And so, again, you're always welcome to join us. All right. Have a great night or a great day,
Later,
everyone.
guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Mayor's Perspective podcast. If today's conversation matters to you, share it with someone who cares about the future of their community. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming discussions with leaders from across Illinois tackling the issues that impact your city, your wallet, and your future. Because when decisions are made at the top, they're felt at home. Let's talk again soon.